Question 1.
How effective is the combination of your
Main product and ancillary text?
When we were first given the brief for our documentary, we were told to make a 5-minute clip taken from, a documentary piece. And we decided we'd create it so it would be like a piece taken from a whole series, which would go on to be When Children Go Missing. And we decided, to have this piece look at a specific case, which was in fact the Emily Johnson case. We did it so it was like the first half of a documentary, the first quarter coming up before the adverts.
At the beginning of the process in devising and coming up with ideas of this documentary, we were both really keen fans of the crime documentary genre.
Definitely.
And we really wanted to work with the police and get a really genuine case and actually make a genuine documentary. We did contact the police, but they just weren't prepared to give us a case of that significance of a child murder, and especially since it was our local police, the Halifax West Yorkshire Police Station. There hasn't been any child abduction murder cases, so I feel like we did overestimate what we could do, but I think that's just made it an even bigger of a job for us to create our own story and create everything and make it a believable and concise film, and that's a credit to us, I reckon.
It definitely rose to the challenge.
Yeah, because it's so much of a harder job.
We wouldn't have been able to do it without all the research we did on other documentaries.
Yeah.
And how other documentaries do their series and...
Yeah, and in conjunction with their series, do all the advertising like posters and TV magazine articles. And within our brief, we had to create the 5-minute documentary piece, and then also in conjunction with that have either a TV magazine article, 2-page spread, or a poster or a radio advert, but we opted for the magazine and the poster, didn't we?
Yeah.
Just because we felt like there'd be more realistic things. We didn't really feel like radio adverts would be in conjunction with a crime documentary necessarily.
Yeah. To conclude in the piece of our documentary, which we were incredibly proud of, we decided to move on to the secondary tasks. And the first thing we started looking at was posters, and we started researching posters, specifically looking at Channel 4's posters.
This is because Channel 4's documentaries are renowned for being cutting edge and tackling the difficult subjects, and especially with their secondary products, the posters were just really striking, and they didn't necessarily have the sole purpose to give people the information. They more or less gave an overview within a picture, not just like through the text on screen, which we thought was really interesting.
It was all about using one main image to really grab people's attention, and we thought that was just an absolute genius idea.
Yeah.
And something we definitely took forward when going through the process of creating our poster.
So for our ancillary tasks, we created quite a few posters and quite a few drafts, just because we really wanted to grasp that striking image and that message behind the image, and it just took us a couple of drafts, a couple of tries to really grasp what we were trying to achieve.
It wasn't as if what we were creating wasn't good enough. It was just that we wanted it to be so much better. We were creating good posters and good images, but it just wasn't up to our standard. We just needed to get it perfect in order for us to be happy with it.
Especially because it's so important, because in the industry the audience would see the poster first, and that's what would want them to come to the documentary. So whatever we've done in the documentary, to the high standard that it'd been, it had to reflect in our poster, which we created afterwards, but that's what the audience would see first. So in the end, we actually took images from we actually took stills from the documentary, and used them in the poster, which
as that striking image.
Yeah, as the striking image, because we just felt, especially with the primary colours and the child semantics that were involved with this picture, relate to the audience, the tragicness of the subject matter, and also it intrigues them into thinking, how can this image be turned sinister? And that's what they'd want to come see from our documentary.
For the second part of our ancillary tasks, we had to look at a 2-page newspaper spread, advertising our documentary, and having an article to go with it, you know, including whatever we really wanted. And again, we did research, we looked at other articles, specifically one, and we looked at it in a lowbrow magazine and a highbrow TV magazine.
Yeah, the lowbrow TV magazine was TV Choice and the highbrow was Radio Times. We felt it was really necessary to look at these two different magazines, as they both had different audiences, and really we wanted to attract all audiences. So what we wanted to do was pick the good things from each of those and make it into our magazine. For example, in TV Choice it had a lot of speech bubbles everywhere, which we weren't really keen on, just because and they had a lot of bright colours, and we just felt that it lowered the standard of our task. And especially since the subject matter was so delicate, we really didn't want to make it a cheap thing to do. We wanted to do it justice and give it the sophistication that it needed.
In the Radio Times, for example, it was a lot more sophisticated and mature, and I think really would have appealed to an older audience, which would attract, you know, people to our documentary. You know, it used different fonts and had, again, a main image that used about 50% of the page, and then had the article underneath, which is something we really liked.
Yeah, as I said, the main thing for both of them, they had a big image. The Radio Times image was granted a lot bigger and it took up most of this page, and we really liked the set out, how it was up here and then they were writing beneath, but the other one was a bit more here and there.
Yeah.
So that's what we took for ours, and we really wanted, and we noticed that their main image wasn't actually a still from the film, it was something that they'd created in Photoshop and they'd done, and so we realised that that's what we had to do. And the same thing goes for the tagline that was there. I think Radio Times had London's Burning, so that's something that we looked at in ours. We used the word lost to insinuate a child lost, being lost, and along with the teddy bear, it's as if the child's lost the teddy bear or forgotten it or been taken and left it behind. So it really insinuated a lot of things that we wanted to do.
Definitely, I think having that big striking word lost, it really, again, just grabs people's attention and makes people, you know, double check the page and want to read on about it, as opposed to just seeing, you know, when children go missing or the Emily Johnson case. You know, having that striking word really, you know, initially grabs people's attention, so then they can read on and find out what the documentary is, what it's about, and so on. In the article itself, we include an interview proposed as it was as if, you know, myself and Penny were being interviewed by a journalist, and it was us really discussing the documentary, what it's about, what we aim to achieve from it. And I think, you know, we did want a legit article that was important and, you know, fit in with the image. And
really, if we wanted to make a true documentary, we couldn't have done that, a believable one, without making a magazine article and doing the poster to do the advertising. And really they play a more important role than the actual documentary. The actual documentary is the end result and the end thing that the audience will look at in relation to what we've made. But the two posters and the magazine article, that's what really sort of draws them in and entices them in to watch our programme. Without them, we probably would get really low ratings.
I think as a whole, each task in itself, you know, worked together, they combined together, it had continuity throughout. You know, we used striking images for both the magazine article and the poster, and even within the documentary, you know, we had, you know, exciting shots, you know, striking shots that, you know, really entice the audience. And, you know, that was our aim all along, was to really, you know, set the atmosphere to the audience and let them know, you know, how serious the subject was. And I think, you know, all three of them together really did that, and I think we couldn't have had one without the other.
No, yeah, it definitely set the tone for it, and it attracted the right audience. You don't want someone watching your documentary that isn't interested in that, and so it lets the audience know what kind of film it is, what's going to be included, but without giving the whole game away, and it entices it and it makes it better. Yeah, definitely, it sets the tone for the piece. and it lets the right audience come to see our films. We don't want anyone that's not really interested in viewing it to be stuck there watching it and go down false interpretations. So it lets them know what it is about and what the subject matter is going to be like, and that's really important for us. And it's also opened our eyes to poster making and even writing the article. It's given us new skills for that as well, especially within Photoshop. Yeah.
You know.